I hate to break it to you, my brother, but the fitness industry has failed you. You were told that in order to get jacked, you need to live like a bodybuilder, eat chicken and rice every day, hit the gym 6 times per week, all while rigidly tracking your macros because you were told a calorie deficit is what matters most for fat loss. You were also told that you need to be getting your steps in, do your cardio, and track every possible metric with your Whoop, and optimize your recovery by doing cold plunges. What if I told you all of this is cap? What if instead of living a life full of constant restriction, guilt, and being confused about your workouts, you could actually build a physique that would make you proud on easy mode? What if I told you that you could just hit 3 workouts per week, eat satisfying meals without obsessing over macros, have time for the things you love, such as your hobbies, your family, or the sport you love, and still get straight up jacked without being a slave to the so-called fitness lifestyle? How do I know that's possible? I've been through it myself, brother. I was stuck for years, obsessed over macros, tried to measure every single metric I could, just to end up in binge eating cycles, getting injured from overtraining, and still having a mid physique. Nowadays, I revamped my entire approach to fitness. I doubled down on what actually works and transformed not only my physique, but also my energy, vitality, and the entire way I go about my life. And this video is the first of a 5-part mini-series in which I break down step by step how to get jacked on easy mode, without confusion, without restriction, and letting fitness dictate your entire life. Welcome to this video, this full guide on how to get straight up jacked on easy mode. I first want to quickly touch base on my story. When I turned 18, I essentially let go of my hoop dreams. I was a skinny guy, as you can see. I was playing basketball a lot, but then ended up moving from Germany to Hong Kong, which essentially meant I would leave the youth program I was in back in Germany. My new thing was fitness, right? I always hated being average. Now that sort of my dream of becoming a basketball pro didn't happen, I ended up doing some fitness, and I wanted to get into sports because that was a big part of my life all the time. I then moved to Amsterdam for uni and started to, hit the gym more seriously, started building a bit of muscle. And at the same time, I was living the international student life. I would go on parties, eat the junk food and smoke. And I could somehow get away with it and get in decent shape because I was still young. I was like 19 at the time. Went really hard in the gym, made some decent progress, got fairly athletic, decently jacked. I was able to dunk with ease, which I couldn't before. I was able to hit a backflip, and I overall got more athletic. And as you can see here on the left, there was something off. I essentially hit a plateau. I couldn't get my strength up. That really had me doubting myself, and I thought it was my training. I was switching programs all the time as a result of it. Something was off. I had no drive, and I eventually got my blood work done, and it showed that I had low testosterone. This was about a year and a half ago. When I got that blood work back, I had to make a change. I did everything I could do to maximize my testosterone naturally. Essentially went all in on this. Within 8 months, I made a significant transformation, and as you can see here, I got pretty damn jacked. Almost tripled my free testosterone, significantly increased my regular testosterone in a matter of 8 months. But I was training on very high volume. I was training almost every day. I hit the gym 6 times per week with like 30 plus. I was obsessing over macros. I tracked every single day. I always wanted to be perfect. I had to always track my sleep. I was very rigid about my diet. I always wanted to have perfect days. And I had about 5 cheat meals in a matter of 8 months. The results showed I got jacked, but at a cost. Being so extreme on myself and being extremely hard with myself resulted in injuries due to overtraining. I hurt my trap, I hurt my wrists, I hurt my lower back. I missed out on all the fun stuff in life. I didn't go play as much basketball anymore because I didn't want to get injured because I wanted to progress in the gym so bad. I basically stopped doing, social things. I said no to family and friends when they wanted to hang out or something because I always wanted to make sure I could get my meals in and hit my macros. And eventually, with this whole restrictive diet and not allowing myself anything, and essentially being unhappy with how I lived my day-to-day life, I ended up in a binge eating cycle. For a period of 2 months, not too long ago, I would, whenever I get mentally irritated or, whenever there was something up, I would just seek comfort in food. It was to a point where I had symptoms of depression. Every time I had a binge, I wouldn't want to get out of bed the next day and I would feel depressed. And I would obviously feel physically also pretty bad. I was constantly inflamed because I would eat so much chocolate, like unusually large amount of chocolate. Essentially, this was a result of me being like super, yeah, perfectionist about getting jacked. Essentially, I got jacked on hard mode. It was not sustainable and I lived like a bodybuilder. But that led me to figure out a way on how to, fix this. And I cut my training in half. I now have more time for the fun stuff. And I enjoy a 90% whole foods diet and eat whatever I want. I'm in the best shape of my life and my blood work is still nearly perfect. So I essentially figured out a way to get jacked on easy mode without having to live like a bodybuilder and still, enjoying life to an extent. And before I get into this method, I quickly want to touch base on who this is for. If you think getting jacked is hard and you believe you need to let fitness take up your entire life, or if you're confused by all the conflicting advice that's out there and therefore have zero structure and direction on how to train, this is definitely for you. So if you're struggling to stay consistent with your diet and your training, and if you're done being out of shape with low drive and energy throughout the day, and if you've been trying to get jacked without seeing the results you want and hate to stay that way, stay on. This video is going to tell you exactly what to do in order to get you jacked on easy mode. Who this isn't for. If you're looking for a shortcut or a magic pill, this video isn't for you because you have to do the work. If you're unwilling to make sustainable lifestyle changes and habit changes, this is also nothing that you want to stick with. Besides that, if you're unable to delay gratification and prefer to continue to seek comfort and pleasure, and if you don't want to become an absolute beast and earn your dream body, this video also isn't for you. Lastly, before we get into the method, I want to quickly share some common misbeliefs that are probably holding you back from getting the physique you want. Number one, getting jacked is hard and you need to live like a bodybuilder training 6 times a week plus cardio. This is absolute nonsense. Probably only makes sense if you're a bodybuilder on steroids. But if you're a natural lifter, you don't need this much training volume. You also don't need to be tracking every possible metric, such as calories, such as your sleep, such as whatever calories you burn on your Whoop or all that stuff. You don't need it. You can't have any cheat meals or constantly have to be on a diet. If you think like this, you're going to set yourself up for failure, and why that is, I'm going to get into in a sec. Calories in versus calories out and macros. Shouldn't be your top priority, and why that is, I will also get into in a sec. But you definitely don't need to be overly obsessive about that if you do what I'm about to say. You also don't need to be eating chicken, rice, and veggies every day. Matter of fact, you can enjoy a healthy diet that serves your goals that's not just chicken and rice. Red meat is also not bad for you. This is some propaganda that's out there. Last one is protein powders and protein bars are healthy. There's way better protein sources out there that do not contain additives, sweeteners, or maybe even synthetic amino acids that are not real. So you want to stay away from that and just opt in for real food. But I'm going to get into that in a sec. So let's talk about the straight up jacked formula. This is essentially a simple system to get you jacked on easy mode, and it helps you build the physique and strength you always wanted. It will help you improve your testosterone, your hormonal health, and vitality. You're going to be more energized throughout the day if you follow what I'm about to tell you. It will get your metabolism fired up, and getting lean is going to become effortless, and you won't have to obsess over macros. It will also make your life a lot more enjoyable, as I just mentioned. You will be able to eat more, and Lastly, you will get compliments and you will get noticed by others that something is different and your body is changing. So let's talk about some of my clients and what they've achieved on this method. So as you can see here, these are just a few of the clients that I've transformed with this method. None of these guys train any more than 3 to 4 times per week. This is basically just proof for this method. Let's go ahead. The straight up jacked formula. It consists of 4 pillars. The first pillar is the 2.0 U. The second pillar is the jack diet. The third pillar is the 1-2-4 method, which is basically a super simple training method that will get you absolutely jacked, and designing a lifestyle that is anti-fragile. Do these, you're gonna get jacked in a sustainable manner. Now, let's elaborate. The 2.0 U. This is something I do with all my clients when they come into my coaching, and this is something I also did for myself, and it's been absolutely life-changing. So you need to be understanding the self-image and define your 2.0 self. If you don't know this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, I highly recommend you to read through it. But essentially, the idea of the self-image is that it is your own projection of who you believe to be. You've been programmed all your life by your parents, by how you grew up and your environment, thinking that you are that person that you are today. And all of your actions, behaviors, abilities, habits are in line with your self-image. So you've been programmed in a certain way, and that's why you behave in a certain way. And the self-image prescribes your limits for goal accomplishment. So you are only essentially going to achieve those goals that you believe you are capable of achieving, which sounds kind of logical, but I only know a few people that actually reflect on this and think about that. And the moment I started doing that, my life has genuinely changed for the better. And the good news I have for you is that the self-image can be changed, and you can do this by becoming that person already. And at this point, I want to quote iconic Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, German poet and writer, who said, "Before you can do something, you must first be something." You need to become that version, that 2.0 version of yourself already in order to get where you want to be. And you're going to do that by creating a crystal clear picture of your future self. You essentially create a mental image of the person you would most like to become. And you do that by writing down on a piece of paper how you're going to look, how you're going to feel when you look a certain way. This is really important, like the feelings associated with you being where you want to be. And don't just say, oh, I'm gonna feel great. You really need to write down these specific emotions. Are you gonna be more proud? Are you gonna be more confident? Like, what's your emotional state when you get there? How do you go about your day? How would that 2.0 jacked version of you wake up, go to bed? What kind of meals would they have? What are the habits? What are the habits they started doing? What are the habits they stopped? Like all of these things, how you talk about yourself in your head, how you talk about yourself to others is crucial. And there's no right or wrong to this, but you have to be hyper specific about it. Weird little details are powerful. So, for example, what kind of bed sheets are you going to wake up in? Like, where is your place going to be? What kind of toothbrush are you using after you get up? Like, weird little details are going to be really powerful. Thinking about that version of you or reading through that piece of paper that you just wrote down should genuinely hype you the fuck up. You genuinely want to be excited to become that version. If that's not the case, you probably did something wrong. And once you did that, once you wrote that down on a piece of paper in present tense, you want to remind yourself of that version daily through reading and visualizing that version of you that you just wrote down. Ideally in the morning and in the evening, because that's when your subconscious is very receptive to having you program it in a certain way. And this will essentially result in you going about your day like thinking, what would that future version of me do? How would you behave? How would you speak? Would you skip that workout? Probably not. You essentially have to already move like that person throughout life. Let's move on to the JAG diet. So, the first thing I want you to understand is that the JAG diet is a diet approach that serves your goals and is enjoyable at the same time. And you don't want to be setting yourself up for failure, because the belief that you cannot enjoy a diet that serves your goals will set you up for failure. And this is strongly related to the self-image. If you think about yourself, oh my god, I have to eat chicken and rice every day, you need to follow an approach that you can see yourself doing for at least 6 months, something that's sustainable, and you need to move away from the perfectionism. You won't be eating perfect all the time, and you don't have to, and you can treat yourself, you can enjoy something unhealthy here and there, and you can surely go out with your friends or your family on a dinner. And the JAG diet is essentially 90% nutrient dense whole foods and 10% whatever the hell you want. Now, the most important thing you need to understand is micronutrients, aka vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes, are far more important than macros, such as protein, carbs, and fats, in order to fuel your hormones and fire up your metabolism. Because you can get all your proteins in, but if the source isn't bioavailable and doesn't provide you vital nutrients, your hormones aren't gonna, fire up your metabolism, and it's gonna be hard to get jacked, build muscle, and lose fat. That means you wanna enjoy unprocessed, natural foods without any preservatives or additives or sweeteners. And a general rule of thumb is if a food wasn't around 100 years ago, you don't want to include it in your day to day. You always want to aim for the highest quality foods you can afford or access, especially for animal based products. So you want to opt in for grass fed beef, free range eggs, organic, and even raw dairy if you can, because those foods are likely to be more bioavailable and digestible, meaning your body can absorb the nutrients in the food a lot better and use it as better fuel essentially. This is basically what the diet is built around. As far as your protein sources, you want to go for any type of meat as long as it's decent quality. You want to have eggs and minimally processed dairy, fish, mature cheeses, ideally raw or from protected origin. It's always a good indication for quality. Your carbs should be potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, buckwheat, goated, very nutrient dense, and seasonal fruit. As far as fats go, we opt in for natural nuts, ideally unheated and unseasoned, avocados, coconut oil, olive oil, butter, and ghee to cook. You can opt in for veggies. In my opinion, they're pretty damn overrated. But carrots, cucumbers, tomatoes, and onions are great. Here's a few meals that are somewhat my staples. So I sometimes like to go hit up the farmer whenever I have the time. But I build most of my meals around meat, steak, avocado, and eggs. I have this meal daily. This is my go-to breakfast bowl. I love having this Greek yogurt bowl with Ceylon cinnamon and non-fat Greek yogurt. And I usually add some fruit like blueberries. You want to build your meals around these foods. Very important is your water intake. You want to opt in for high quality mineral water that's high in calcium and magnesium only. So we don't do tap water. We would use filtered water to cook. That is acceptable, but you want to avoid tap water at all costs, since it may contain PFAs or other endocrine disrupting chemicals that may fuck with your hormones. Supplements, you literally don't need any supplements. If you can afford your supplements, these are the ones I would recommend. So grass-fed collagen, omega-3 cod liver oil, magnesium, vitamin D3, K2, and zinc. Everything else, ashwagandha, whatever, like all these other supplements that are popularized by the fitness industry, 9 times out of 10, they're a money grab and only make sense in like special situations. But for day to day, for everyone, these are the only ones you need. save your money on these and move on. If you want the full nutrition guide that I give to all my clients, including sample meals, um, in-depth explanations, and the exact list of foods you should consume and avoid for day to day, DM me the word guide on Insta. You can find my profile in the link in the description. So DM me the word guide if you want that, and I'll send it over to you. We have the 1-2-4 method. This is a sustainable, proven training method that allows you to have a life beside fitness. Trust me, I've done every split under the sun. You really don't need more than what I'm about to tell you. Overall training principles are: you need to be able to sustain a training regimen for about 6 months at least, and you don't need more than 3 to 4 sessions per week. So either you're going to do 3 sessions or you train every other day. This will be crucial for your recovery. As I said, if you're a natural lifter, more than that is likely not needed or necessary, or will probably fatigue you. You don't need to train longer than an hour or an hour 15, and that will also, get your workout quality up. Because if you only have 3 sessions a week of an hour, you're damn sure you're gonna give it your all in these sessions. So you're either gonna do a push-pull legs or an upper-lower. I personally prefer the push-pull legs, but upper-lower works just as fine with the same method. What's very important is that you hit perfect form. You want to target each muscle like a sniper. You want to hit every muscle with precision, and you want to keep intensity really high. So you want to take most sets to at least 1 rep shy of failure. And something that way too many people do is they're not present and active in their workouts. They come in, they don't pay attention to their environment, they doom scroll between sets and sit around between sets and don't move. And that's not the point of a workout. You want to get in there, be active, you want to move, walk between sets, do some active rest, don't go doom scrolling. And you will notice if you move between sets, your blood flow is going to be better, your focus, your performance is literally going to increase, and it's going to be a game changer for your workouts. The 1-2-4 method, essentially for each movement pattern, such as, or muscle groups such as chest, shoulders, back, upper back, quads, hamstrings, you do 7 total weekly sets. And these will consist of 1 set of 3 to 5 reps with a strength focus. You rest 2 to 3 minutes here. And you do 2 sets of 6 to 10 reps with an hypertrophy focus for your first compound movement. So you're going to pick one movement. I'm going to run you through an example in a sec. And then you pick another movement for the same muscle group for which you really focus on the mind-muscle connection, and you do 4 times 8 to 15 reps with about 60 to 90 seconds rest. So that's about 7 total weekly sets. And your aim is going to be that every week you're going to beat those sets. Time allows, you can do 4 additional weekly sets of biceps, triceps, and abs on 3 of the days. So here we have an example week. We have a push-pull legs here, and let's take push for an example. You start off with your shoulder compound, where you do 3 sets, 1, 2. Same goes for the chest compound, incline dumbbell bench press, 1, 2. So that's going to be the 1, 2. And then you have another isolation slash accessory work for shoulders, which is lateral raises, and then chest fly, which is also 4 sets. And what you want to do is you always want to either add reps to your set or add weight. So for example, let's say you hit 5 reps with a given weight on barbell overhead press. The next time you come into the gym, you're damn sure to increase the weight, even if you just hit 2 or 3 reps. And then you build up to the 5 reps again, and so on. And you want to do that with every set. You want to give your body a new stimulus, aka overload it progressively, so it has to adapt. This is by far the most important principle. So I see way too many people not doing this, and it's killing their gains. This is essentially what a sample week look like. You can literally copy this and do it and just get jacked. Lastly, let's talk about lifestyle design. A lifestyle design that is anti-fragile is essentially designing a lifestyle that works for you instead of having you be a slave to it. And there's a few compartments to that, which is essentially designing a routine, life maxing, having a hormone-friendly physical environment, and stress management. Let's talk about your routine because this is by far the most important thing. You want to start your day off right with a mental win, a physical win, a spiritual win, and an identity and emotional win. So here's just some examples. Mentally, you can start journaling, practice gratitude, don't go on your phone. You don't want to spike your dopamine first thing in the morning. You want to have some sort of physical win, whether that's exercise, hydration, sunlight exposure, some push-ups, whatever hypes you up physically and gets your blood flowing. Then you want to practice some sort of spiritual. Then you want to get your spiritual win in, presence and alignment, like mindfulness, meditation, visualization, as I just spoke about. It's very powerful. And lastly, you want to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What are the key tasks you're supposed to do today? And what does that 2.0 version of you look like? Your wind down routine is just as important. So you want to have some sort of wind down ritual. I personally like to make chamomile tea. I put my phone on flight mode. You want to block out a 6 to 8 hour sleeping window with a consistent sleep and wake time. Reflect on your day. There's a practice called AMWAP, which I have from another YouTuber. I unfortunately forgot his name. I would love to give him credits. Essentially, you're going to write down as many wins as possible at the end of the day. And those wins could be no matter how small. So whatever it is, that's a win for you. Even if you just hung up your laundry or, went for a 5-minute walk, that's a win, and you want to write down as many as possible for a positive feedback loop. And you also want to write down what you can do better tomorrow. Plan out your next day, set out the tasks you need to do, and you want to prepare your room. Air it out, cool it down, and shut the blinds and shut off any EMFs, turn off your Wi-Fi router. You don't want to disrupt your sleep. Let's talk about life maxing. This is something I've been neglecting a lot and it's gotten me depressed. Socialize. Humans are social people. Plan events. Don't be afraid to break out of your routine and, be not perfect for a bit. Try something new, whether that's a new sport, new activity, new classes. Take yourself on a solo dinner or on a solo trip. Like, just max out on life and do some shit that gives you energy and gives you fun. Because without that, like, what fun is your life even, Life is supposed to be lived. I want everybody to do that to the max. Let's talk about stress management. Some sort of mindfulness practice will definitely help you reduce your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which basically works against your testosterone. So that's very crucial. So you can do that by doing some sort of breath work, meditation, visualization practice, or you simply go for a walk, read a book, something that calms you down essentially. Physical relaxation practices are also very useful, such as sauna, massages, foam rolling, stretching. Like, all of this is very useful to do in scenarios when you're stressed. And a really big one is also stim cycling. So you want to be reducing your caffeine intake, so you're not dependent on it, so you're not constantly on a stimulant and not constantly frying your CNS. So if you can't remember the last time you did a tolerance break, go ahead and do it right now, and you will notice your sleep is going to get better, your energy is going to get better, your overall mood is going to get better. Trust me on this, do it, and stop being a slave to the coffee trap. You want to have a hormone-friendly physical environment. So number one thing is to spend as much time outside as you can for sunlight exposure and fresh air and just, freeing your mind. Another thing you want to do is ditching all skincare, hair care, soaps and deodorant that contain endocrine disrupting chemicals such as fragrances, parabens, or benzyl alcohols. And trust me, 90% of people are using things like that daily. And I personally only use 3 products, which is hair oil, a natural deodorant, and natural shampoo and conditioner. I'm gonna put these here on the screen so you can know which brands I'm using. You also want to avoid PFAs or any microplastic from entering your system from your household products. So use steel pans, don't use any cheap non-stick pans. Use glass containers instead of plastic containers, especially when you're heating up food in there. Use wooden chopping boards. Lastly, you want to wear blue light blocking glasses after sundown. Blue light exposure before sleep can significantly disrupt your deep sleep and will essentially make it harder for you to have a restful night of sleep. You've made it to the end of the video, my brother. I appreciate you for sticking around. If you took some value from this video, or if there was something new that you learned, comment, like, or subscribe. And if you want to get jacked on easy mode and work with me in my one-on-one coaching program, DM me the word jacked on Instagram or hit the link in bio to book a call, and we can get talking and get you straight up to your goal. That being said, have a good one and stay tuned for further parts of the 5-part mini-series on how to get jacked on easy mode. Peace.